Hey guys,
Hi.
we are back on a new schedule. So we have decided actually to move our meeting on Wednesday at 6 p.m. So in the middle of the week. How are you, Nikita?
Good, thank you. I thought it'd be better, won't it? Because we don't want to block people's weekends. So,
Exactly. And to be honest, we don't want. I don't want to block my weekend also. So that's also good for us. Great. So today we are going to talk about something that we think is really crazy. That is not thought on since a young age, and it is really about communication. So a question for you, Nikita. On a scale of 1 to 10, how
Mhm.
good are you at communicating?
Oh boy, this is not what we rehearsed, Evan.
Yeah, no,
What
no.
are you? Oh wow. I don't know. I'd say um, maybe 8.
Eight?
I feel confident that I am a good communicator, but I do know everyone has room for improvement. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying 8. How
Okay.
about
So
you?
yeah, yeah, above average.
Certainly. Well, that's what I do for a living. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, for me, I've I've always felt that I was very good at communication.
Mhm.
Now I need to be a little more nuanced because I think I'm really good at listening.
I would definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, I'm good at listening. But what I discovered also is that listening is only one part of communication. That's a big
Certainly.
part of communication, but that's only one part of communication. So overall, for communication, I would say that I would put it like a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
If I had to think in terms of listening, I would say 8.5. I think I'm really good at listening. 8.5,
Yeah.
close to 9.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I would say 8.5, yeah. But when it comes to talking, I have room for improvement. Great room
Okay.
for improvement. I'll put a 6, So yeah, 6 for talking. But I think I'm quite harsh with myself. But yes, that's why I would say that overall that would be 7.5.
Okay. So where do you recognize the room for improvement? You said it was for speaking, and what makes you say that?
Okay, there are different things that makes me think that there's different room for improvement. Is because but when people think about me as in terms of communication skills, a lot of people would give me would score me really high,
Mhm.
8.5, 9. But the reality is that they don't know that what they judge is my ability to listen to people.
Mhm. Mhm.
What people don't especially know is that I'm not always able to quiet that voice that speaks at the same time the other person is talking.
Yeah.
So I don't especially react to what people say, but that doesn't mean that I don't react in my head. And that's a word that I'm really I consciously do to really stop the little voice from commenting what I hear. I'm aware of it, so I don't actually talk aloud. So people really feel that I'm listening to them, but that is true that sometimes that voice is distracting myself, and I have to literally stop that voice. Okay, and I have to literally ignore that voice.
Can I sorry, stop you there for a second. I don't mean to interrupt, but
Oh,
this is quite interesting for me because when I asked you why do you score yourself lower on speaking and higher on listening, and you
yeah,
said you do come across as a better listener for sure, and that's how
yeah.
you feel as well. But then right
Mhm,
now, when I said where I asked you where do you see the room for improvement in communication in terms of speaking, you
mhm,
answered in terms of listening. You said to me that, if I understand correctly, you said to me that you are listening better, but then there's a little voice in your head that distracts you. So this is, I would say, then this is the room for improvement in listening area. What about speaking? Because you rated yourself lower on speaking. You said
Yeah, true,
maybe
true.
eight
But
on
yeah, true.
listening.
The speaking for me is because even if I don't speak out loud,
Mhm.
I'm still talking. You know, I can still hear that voice in my head. So people don't really hear it, but I know that I'm talking where I should be listening. So that is true that I should that would be improve my listening skills, and to really stop myself from actually listen to anything else than what the other is saying.
Yeah.
But because for me in my head I'm still talking, uh, uh, that has to do with the talking. Now, saying that, when it comes to talking to others, I know that I need to improve things because I got like a talent, a great talent, is that I can tell you in 47 words what someone else could tell you in 5 or 6 words.
Okay.
That's a great talent, you know. So luckily for me,
I
I showed my mouth.
appreciate this.
Say that again.
For people who have ample time on their hands, they would certainly appreciate this talent.
That's not sure. That's not sure. So I definitely work on that. I definitely work on that.
Yeah. Um, okay. So I would certainly think that whether this is a talent or not, again, for me, is very much contextual. So I joked about it. If people have time on their hands, obviously, they would appreciate it. But people who are busy, a classic example, like an elevator pitch, if you're talking to a CEO who gives you 30 seconds to tell your idea, share your idea, if you're going to go on for more than even that 30 seconds, let alone a couple of minutes, then that's not good enough in that context. But if someone expects an elaborate explanation and you just cut them off with 5 words, then they're going to think you're being rude. So, of course, it's a talent in one situation, but not in another. So, I would say it's quite contextual, isn't it?
It, it, it depends. I would say that for me, it's not even contextual. I think that I really need to improve on that
Okay.
because there are different ways to say in 7 words, in 47 words, what could be said in 5 words. Obviously, there are people that can really, they're really good at telling stories,
Mm.
so you will see like they are getting information that they're bringing you on a journey. Okay,
Yeah.
if that was the case, I would still say, you know what, my talking skills are really high because I
Okay.
can appreciate that. But I'm not talking about that kind of taking a long time to say things.
Okay.
I'm talking about the maybe repeating like a few things when it doesn't need to be repeated. This is what I'm talking. So in that sense, it's not really contextual. It's really something I think that I need to improve.
Fair enough. That's great.
Mm.
Um, when I said something is contextual, it is a matter of fact. It's not just contextual. Well, it is in a way contextual, but it's more cultural than contextual. Because in certain cultures, you wouldn't want people to go directly to the point. Some cultures, for example, a lot of Asian cultures, Japanese culture is known for this, which is they would beat around the bush but never come to the point, and that's
Yeah.
appreciated in that culture. Whereas say Italian or French culture, you would go straight to the point. If you keep beating around the bush, they're not going to appreciate that at all. So that's why I said it is contextual, because certain kind of people coming from different cultural backgrounds would appreciate you giving longer, lengthier explanations and kind of going around things rather than coming straight to the point. So certainly bear that, I would say you need to bear that in mind, because direct communication would not be appreciated in all the contexts.
Yeah, I agree with that, but once again, I feel that in any uh, culture that I've come across, I would definitely say that I need to change that because once again, that's not the person that is really able to to add or remove some kind of information, and that makes that story really nice to listen to. So if you look, for example, to a nice novel
Mhm.
or any book, in a way, most books they are 300 pages, but you can summarize them in 20 pages. Okay, and that is fine. So if I had to make like a comparison, that would be for me talking like a novel or talking like a kind of um, uh, a book that you need to improve what you do, okay, to improve your skills. Sometimes you're in any culture, you're going to have like a book of 300 pages, and you
Yeah.
know that they put 300 pages because obviously no one would accept to pay $10 or $20 for a book that is just, let's say, 10 or 15 pages. That would not make sense. People will be like, forget that. I'm not going to pay you $20 for 15 pages. Okay. So, in a way, even if those books are on topics that are supposed to be interesting, they're adding information. And we can see that in a lot of self help books, for example. They need to treat like a specific issue, but they're going to go over and over. They're going to put examples, that kind of thing. So, in the way I talk, I would say this is a little that the example. Okay, a lot of people they can be Chinese, they can be Indian, they can be French. They will just would like you. Okay, do you know what? I got like an issue. Just give me the information. Okay. If they are more technical, they will be like, okay, do you know what? I might need you to give me some a little more detail, but don't give me the 300 pages book that you need to write in order to be published. On the other side, when you read like a novel, I don't read a lot of novel, but in a way, you like to have those details, so you can really be
Thank
taken in the story. And in that sense, yeah, I think that is cultural. You will have culture that would like to have more details, more emphasis, more like emotions, And in that sense, yeah, I would say that depending on the culture, people will appreciate more or less. But I'm not even talking about that. This is style to be able to talk with a style. I'm not talking about that. I'm really talking about going over and over for a topic that could be answered quite quickly, like I've certainly done now.
If you do recognize that this is where you need to improve or change, certainly that could be an area to work on. So definitely I appreciate that. All I just wanted to say was, yes, there are cultural differences in the way we communicate, and those cultural differences we need to just bear them at the back of our mind, because you don't want
Yeah,
to end up offending someone. So,
of course, of
and
course.
again, going back to your example of self-help books, I think another reason they add so many examples, and yes, they're repetitive. One point would be explained in 10 different ways, but that's not, that's my perception, is not because they want to just add 300 pages to get published, but it's because example A might resonate with you and it might not resonate with me at all, but example F might resonate with me and not with you. So there's going to be different kinds of readers who would be able to connect with that example, connect with the point using different examples. And that is exactly the strategy of communication, because you need to be able to, while communicating either face to face or on screen, you would have that chance to be able to connect with the person in front of you and try and see what is going to resonate with this person, what is their life experience, what background do they come from, what baggage do they bring with them. And then I might give an example that might sit well there. But for an author, for that matter, they don't know who's going to read their book, and they do know and they do hope that different kinds of people, thousands of people, are going to read that book, and they would want to give examples in many different ways, drive the same point in many different ways.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I will still think that's a lot of, anyway. That has been my experience, and God knows that I find reading really important. My goal is to at some point to be able to read one book a day, front to cover. So that might take me like 5 or 10 years to do that. So I really get the value of a reading. But even from like a time where I've managed to read like 2, 3 books per week, I would still say that a lot of those books, they are obviously those people writing books that are clever, and we can say all of that. But it has happened often that I would read a book and I would be like, sugar man, I'll watch that a TED talk that was 15 minutes, and I actually didn't need to read the book. Okay. Or and I try to do everything. I read like a book books. I read the audiobooks. I also had at least two free summary application. Where I can just go and read the summary. And I would say I'm quite convinced that I'm doing all those three, the at least the audiobook and the Kindle book. Okay, those two versions, and I would read them back to back, front to back,
Mhm.
and then I will add also those a little application that will summarize in 5-10 minutes. I'm really convinced that even if those people are trying to re-answer to the different type of learners, given different examples, I'm pretty sure that in people using the app and only the app, you will find people that need a little more, that are more visual, that more. Most people see the value in being able to be direct. Once again, I'm talking about being direct as a kind of value when it comes to information that need to be applied quite quickly. So once again, anyway. That's for me. I know that I need to improve. I think I need to improve on my communication skills, especially the talking. Now, to move a little forward, so we can also try to give some kind of information. As we were preparing that topic, we actually put together some kind of elements, and we're
Yes,
saying that okay, there's like four elements. That's not like kind of a universal law, but that they were quite making sense. It was like the different four elements that really matter in the communication, and hopefully we can share enough for people to improve just with using those four elements. There
certainly.
was listening. There was there was a list. Let me actually see if I can pull it up.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I can put it up. I can say that.
We had speaking, we had listening, we had understanding, and the emotional awareness.
Yes. Let me see if I can get that.
Are you trying to share your screen?
Yes, but I need to find. I need to find the documents.
Okay. Okay, well, so then we can, yeah, keep looking. But yeah, so we were talking about the four key components that make up, or four key aspects of communication, being listening, um,
Yeah.
speaking, of course, but also not speaking. And then there was understanding, and sometimes knowing that you're not going to understand things. And even if you don't understand, how much can you accept? That was another thing that we were talking about. And of course, emotional awareness. Now, in all of it, they're not kind of watertight compartments. They are all intertwined because listening itself, if you think about it, it's a highly underrated skill. And as we were talking about this, Tevin, earlier as well, this is a skill that we don't officially learn. And yes, now in kindergartens as well, they are focusing, the whole focus is on communication and language. But again, language aspect of it, as opposed to the listening skills. And yes, we want children, but we all know listening is the primary skill based on which then the whole language builds up. But how do you teach someone to listen? And that's the big key question. But more than teaching someone to listen, it's just that self-awareness as well. When you're listening to someone, knowing that you have your own filters, you listen through your own filters, you have your own life experiences that dictate how you're going to interpret something. So again, that's where your understanding comes in. And being able to just listen, giving the other person your 100% attention is what's needed there, right? Oh, there you go, you did it.
Did I? Wow. Good. So yes. So do you want yeah, I'll let you carry on. And then we can actually summarize by taking them one by one, and hopefully that would make sense for people.
Yeah, so I would like you to jump in actually, because we were talking
Okay.
about listening, which is making sure firstly that you are giving your 100%, you're not on your phone or behind any other device, or not distracted by your own thoughts either. So you are
Mhm.
actually listening to understand, and not again listening to answer, because a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this as well, a lot of times we listen to answer, not with an intention to understand. But oh no, that's not what it is. And when I'm composing that argument or the counter argument or the answer in my head, I miss out a lot. So this is something that we need to be really aware of. And as you rightly said, Tevin, that's the inner voice that you began with, actually. Understanding, again, just being aware of the fact that the way you understand things is going to be very much unique to you, because no one else has had your life experiences, your filters, um, your baggage, your perceptions, none of that. So your understanding is very much unique to you. um, we were talking about speaking and not speaking as well. When do you talk and when do you decide not to talk? And again, it brings in the whole verbal and non-verbal aspect of communication, because even if you're not talking, a lot of times just rolling your eyes but saying nothing does it all. So that's also communicating, because if you're telling me an interesting story or a good idea and I just roll my eyes at you, that just shows that I'm not interested. I don't believe in the word that you're saying. And emotional awareness, being aware of your own emotions and being aware of the emotions of the other person. All these things are really important when we talk about communication. So, go on.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that you said it all. Those are four elements are really important. You talk about listening, you talk verbal, non-verbal, understanding, accepting, speaking, not speaking, emotional awareness. Now, for the sake of the time,
mhm.
what I would suggest, maybe to try to give like just a few tips for every single element.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, communication is something that is not taught from a young age, but that is so important because that's not been taught to us from a young age. Hopefully, now once we are conscious that we need to work on that, we can decide to literally consciously work on it every single day. Okay. For the first one, for listening, what is for you like a good tip for improving a listening skill? And then I will share one of mine.
So, for me, the best tip is be 100% present. What that just means is tell yourself. So I when I was doing some training as a coach, the one tip that they gave us was, in the training phase, they told us you're supposed to listen to your partner, and at the end you're not going to give any response whatsoever. So
I like.
now, if I know I'm not going to respond to you, then obviously I am not composing an answer. The only thing we had to do was summarize what you said. So you tell me a given problem for 5 minutes, something that you did over the weekend or whatever it could be, and all I have to do is summarize what you said. And in real life, this really helps. When someone's talking to you, just try to summarize what they've said. So you're going to give your 100% attention, because now you want to make sure you're summarizing it correctly for them.
Perfect. I definitely like that task. Really difficult, but I really like it. I actually got two tips. One that you can only do when you talk to someone on the phone. What I was taught to do was actually to mute yourself on the phone. Sometimes you start to listen to someone and you want to interject, and I'm pretty sure that you think that you are quite helping, but the key of the exercise is really, even if you are sure that what you have to say is super interesting, don't do it. And to help you, just mute yourself on the phone. Okay, so that really forces you to really, really have that person talking without interrupting that person. Another tip that you can definitely do in terms of listening is as you talk to someone, to only repeat the last word of the sentence. So in your own head. And that really forces you to really pay attention to what they're saying. I don't know if that makes sense. But those are two tips I think that can really help when people start to improve their listening skills. So for the
Sorry, I'm
understanding
really
and accepting,
coughing. Give me a second, okay?
that's fine. That's fine. While Nikita is dying live, let's just add like a few things for understanding and accepting. This is like a really interesting point because often we really think that we need to understand everything that the other person is saying, and we actually don't have to. That's great if you can understand what they've been through, but sometimes that's just impossible. Let's imagine that we are talking about someone like a lady is talking to you about the pain of the pain she has from losing a child. Okay, and she's in a business meeting, and she break down. She has gone through something really difficult. You don't need to understand, and you wouldn't be able to understand if you are a male that you don't have children. You won't be able to understand. Obviously, that I exaggerate is just to tell you that we don't need to understand to be able to listen properly. Sometimes we need to be able to say, okay, do you know what? I don't have all the information, all the experience to understand, but that doesn't stop me from accepting without trying to convince that person that she's right, she's wrong. No, just understanding if you're in a position to, if not, just allowing you just to accept.
Yeah, that's really important. I totally agree with you there. The one thing that I am not 100% with you on, which is a good tip though, is muting yourself over the phone. But I normally wouldn't do that simply because if it's a video call, it's a different thing. But if it's an ordinary audio call and if you've muted yourself, I'm not even sure if you're listening or not. And that would because I'm not getting any validation. A good way of listening would be you're doing those nods or the verbal those, you're validating the other person, you're showing interest through your tonality as well, when really, oh, so those things do tell the other person that carry on, I can't wait to hear more. But if you're on mute, yes, with the best of intention of not interrupting me, it actually makes me lose interest in talking to you, because I on the other hand would think that, oh my god, this person is not interested at all, he's actually put himself on mute, maybe he's busy doing something else, which is what all of us know, thanks to the pandemic, that we attend a million webinars, work meetings and everything, we switch off our cameras, switch off our microphones, and we're busy with our own stuff. I usually tend to even cook while attending all these meetings. So I would not really go that far of muting the microphone, but maybe, yeah, just, keep your lips shut, and when it's appropriate, give that verbal, well, kind of non-verbal validation by going, oh, those kind of responses, I would say.
Yeah, I understand you. I understand your point. Okay.
Alert from calendar. Ticket. People your house. The value and importance of creative development.
Okay, sorry about that.
So I definitely understand your point. I think that in another conversation, because we only have like 1 minute left, we'll go a little deeper. But that is the point. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, in the communication, all those no's that you say, blah, blah, oh yes, all of that are part of communication. When we have like the time to go deeper, I will explain how it is still possible, even with that technique of a muting. So listening, we have mentioned that what can be done, understanding, accepting. We only have like a 1 minute now. Let's go over the two last one really quickly, and then we'll come back on the conversation another time. Speaking, not speaking.
Yeah, I think that's a very important one, and I don't know how I can summarize that in less than a minute, but a lot of times before you say anything, my daughter says it, nap before you speak. So nap is that the acronym for, I can't remember, is it necessary, is it affirmative, and is it positive? So, well, first of all, analyze if whatever you're about to say, is it necessary, absolutely necessary to say that? Are you saying it in a positive way? and are you adding value, or are you just criticizing, bringing the person down? So make sure that you analyze this. Sometimes what you add is not necessary.
Yeah, I like that. I was trying to find the what NAP stand for. I didn't find,
Oh
but yeah,
no, it's nothing. She made that up. So
nice. Okay, so yes, I also agree that we don't always need to talk back. And in a lot of conversation, you would definitely understand that actually people are really appreciate you not talking. I think that's more like an advice for men. We always try to come with a solution, but that is true that sometimes we don't really need to say anything. Now, for the last point, emotional awareness. Here, for this one, that was very interesting because emotional awareness, I did especially between Nikita and myself, I got experience with communication, emotional intelligence, but I would say that's more like a practical intelligence. The expert is really Nikita here. And what was quite interesting that we were talking about being aware of our emotions, but also being aware of the emotion of the other person. And Nikita was actually making me understand that. There are two ways to think about emotional awareness. There's like a way that is a little more like the popular way, okay, and there's a way that would be a little more specialized, explained by the likes of Daniel Goleman. Now, I
that was
would yes. So here I would say that. We are not going to go into the details or those differences, but that was quite interesting, and we'll definitely have like a topic just on that element of emotional awareness and what does it imply. But for this last point, what we wanted to really indicate is that it's important after we've decided to speak or not to speak to assess the situation and to really try to see, okay, how do we feel, how does the other person feel, and I would say even in the other direction, what does the other person feel, because we want the attention on that person first, and then what do we feel about the situation.
certainly, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, that was quite an interesting conversation. We'll definitely come back on that one on communication. That's so important. So yes, so if you want to practice communication on a regular basis, or whatever situation, obviously we are talking about business, but also in your personal life. Here you got like a kind of a quick, simple schema you can follow. Listening. What can you do to listen better? Focus on listening, not talking. Understanding, but sometimes you are not going to be in a position you can understand everything. Be okay with just accepting what you don't understand. When it comes to your time to speak, okay, yeah, you can speak, but sometimes just realize that it is not necessary, and whatever happens, always pay attention to the emotions in place, the emotion of the other person, and of course your own emotional states.
Yeah. And lastly, even if you decide not to speak or not to say anything, just be very much aware of your non-verbal cues that you're giving out all the time. Sitting with your arms crossed or rolling your eyes or looking here and there, looking into your phone, that communicates a lot more than what you could verbally say to the person. So just be aware of all that.
Nikita, thank you very much for that conversation. Talking about communication, I actually have a workshop now with Dr. Wyatt Woodsmall of NLP. So I will definitely tell you a lot more about it next week.
Definitely. Looking forward to it, Taryn. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye bye.